The Lunar girl lost her child. Then the unicorn wouldn't leave her side. We're in the final stretch with just 15 days to reach 1,000 subscribers. If stories about grief, healing, and unexpected companionship speak to your heart, please consider subscribing. Your support allows us to keep creating these emotional journeys. Hit subscribe, share with those who appreciate deeply meaningful fantasy tales, and comment about what touches you in these stories. Thank you for watching, and now let's begin today's powerful narrative. Ilara Moonwhisper was 23 years old when her world ended. She had been lunar-born, marked from birth with silver hair and violet eyes that identified her as blessed by the moon goddess. In her village of Silverstream, this had been considered a great honor. Lunar-born children were rare, appearing perhaps once in a generation, and they were believed to carry special gifts, enhanced intuition, the ability to commune with nature, sometimes even prophetic dreams. Ilara's gift had been healing. She could ease pain with a touch, accelerate recovery from illness, even draw poison from wounds. The village had celebrated her abilities, and she had dedicated herself to serving her people, using her gift to help anyone who needed it. She had married young, at 19, to a kind man named Theron, who loved her not for her gifts, but for who she was beneath them. And when she became pregnant 2 years later, the entire village had rejoiced. A child born to a lunar-blessed mother would surely carry extraordinary gifts. Ilara had felt the life growing within her with a clarity that went beyond normal pregnancy awareness. Through her healing gift, she could sense her daughter's heartbeat, her development, her emerging personality. She had loved this child with a fierceness that surprised her, had dreamed of all the things they would do together, all the love she would pour into this small life. She had named her daughter Lunar before she was even born, feeling the moon goddess's presence strongly during her pregnancy. The birth had been difficult. Ilara had labored for 2 days, her healing gift somehow not working on herself, unable to ease her own pain or speed her own process. The village healer had grown increasingly worried as complications developed. Lunar was born in the quiet hours before dawn, under a waning moon. She was tiny, fragile, with a shock of silver hair that matched her mother's, and eyes that would have been violet if they had opened, but they never opened. Lunar lived for exactly 17 minutes. Ilara held her daughter, felt her small heartbeat flutter and fade, felt the life essence that she could sense so clearly in others gradually dim and then extinguish entirely. Her daughter died in her arms before the sun rose on her first day of existence. The grief was beyond anything Ilara had imagined possible. It was not just sadness, but a complete shattering of everything she had believed about the world. She was a healer. She saved lives, she prevented death, she made things better. Yet she had been unable to save her own daughter, unable to heal the one person who mattered most. Her gift, which had always been a source of pride and purpose, now felt like a mockery. What good was healing others when she could not heal the tiny, broken body of her own child? The village mourned with her. They held a funeral, beautiful and solemn, and buried Lunar in the sacred grove where all lunar-born were laid to rest. They spoke words of comfort about the moon goddess's plans, about Lunar being needed in the celestial realm, about how some souls are too pure for the mortal world. Ilara heard none of it. She existed in a fog of grief so dense that nothing could penetrate it. Theron tried to help, tried to reach her, but his own grief, combined with his helplessness in the face of hers, created a distance between them. He did not know how to comfort a wife who had retreated so far into sorrow that she seemed unreachable. The village healer offered tinctures for sleep, for calming, for dulling pain. Ilara refused them all. She did not want to dull the pain. The pain was all she had left of her daughter. 2 weeks after Lunar's death, Ilara stopped using her healing gift entirely. When people came to her for help, she turned them away. She could not bear to touch another living thing, to feel their vitality, when her daughter had no vitality to feel. "You cannot stop being who you are," Theron said gently one evening. "Lunar would not want you to abandon your gift." "Lunar is dead," Ilara said flatly. "What she would want is irrelevant. She had no chance to want anything." "You are not the only one grieving," Theron said, his own pain finally breaking through. "She was my daughter too. I lost her too. But I'm also losing you, Ilara. You are here, but you are not here. You have left me alone with this grief just as surely as Lunar left us both." His words should have reached her, should have reminded her that she was not alone in her suffering. But Ilara could not feel anything beyond her own devastation. She saw Theron's pain as something distant, something that existed in a world she no longer inhabited. 3 weeks after Lunar's death, Ilara left. She did not plan it. She simply walked out of her house one morning and kept walking, past the village boundaries, into the forest, following no path, seeking no destination. She just needed to move, to be away from the pitying looks, the careful voices, the constant reminders of what she had lost. She walked for hours until she reached a part of the forest she did not recognize. The trees here were ancient, their trunks massive, their canopies so thick it created a perpetual twilight, even at midday. And there, in a clearing surrounded by these ancient trees, Ilara collapsed. She fell to her knees and finally, truly broke. The tears that she had been holding back, the screams she had been suppressing, the agony she had been containing, all of it erupted. She sobbed until her throat was raw, screamed until she had no voice left, pounded the earth with her fists until her hands bled. "Why?" she cried out to the moon goddess, to fate, to whatever force controlled such things. "Why give me a gift for healing if I cannot save my own child? Why bless me with lunar blood if it means watching my daughter die? Why give me 17 minutes of being a mother only to steal it away?" No answer came. The forest remained silent except for her weeping. She did not know how long she knelt there, lost in her grief. Minutes or hours, time had no meaning anymore. But eventually she became aware of a presence. She looked up, expecting to see perhaps a deer or forest creature attracted by the noise. Instead, she found herself staring at a unicorn. He was magnificent, with a coat of pure white that seemed to glow in the dim forest light. His horns spiraled upward, opalescent and beautiful. His eyes were deep blue, ancient and knowing, and he was looking at her with an expression that Ilara, even through her grief, recognized: profound sorrow. The unicorn approached slowly, carefully, as if afraid of startling her. He stopped a few feet away and lowered his great head, bringing his eyes level with hers. They stared at each other for a long moment. Then the unicorn did something unexpected. He touched his horn gently to her forehead. Warmth flooded through Ilara, not physical warmth, but something deeper. Comfort, understanding, the sense that she was being seen, truly seen, by a being who understood suffering. And more than that, she felt the unicorn's own grief. Through the connection his horn created, she sensed that this magnificent creature carried sorrow as deep as her own. He had lost something precious too. He understood her pain not just intellectually, but experientially. The unicorn's voice resonated in her mind, gentle and sad. "I am called Starweaver, and I know what it is to lose everything." "My baby died," Ilara whispered, the first words she had spoken about it aloud that were not screams or sobs. "My daughter. She lived for 17 minutes. "I know," Starweaver said. "I can sense the shape of your grief. It is vast, it is consuming, it is the kind of loss that changes who you are forever." "You understand?" Ilara asked, desperately hoping that someone, even a unicorn, might truly comprehend what she was feeling. "I do," Starweaver said. "I had a foal once. born under a blood moon, which is considered sacred among unicorns. She was perfect, beautiful, full of light and life. She was 3 days old when hunters found our hidden grove. They killed her trying to harvest her horn, believing a foal's horn had more potent magic than an adult's. Ilara's hand flew to her mouth. "That's horrible, I'm so sorry." "As am I sorry for your loss," Starweaver said. "Our griefs are different in their specifics, but the same in their essence. We have both lost children we loved. We both know what it is to have something precious stolen away before its time." "How do you bear it?" Ilara asked. "How do you continue existing with that kind of pain?" "Poorly," Starweaver admitted. "I have been alone in this forest for 20 years, avoiding all contact, unable to return to my herd because everything there reminded me of what I lost. I exist, but I do not live. I survive, but I do not thrive. I carry this grief like a weight that never lessens." "Then we are the same," Ilara said. "Both of us broken, both of us unable to heal." "Perhaps," Starweaver said, "or perhaps we could be broken together. Perhaps shared grief is more bearable than solitary grief." "You would stay with me?" Ilara asked, surprised. "Why?" "Because I recognize you," the unicorn said. "Not just your grief, but what lies beneath it. You are Lunar-born, blessed by the same moon that is sacred to unicorns. There is a connection between us, deeper than circumstance, and because for the first time in 20 years, I have met another being who truly understands this particular kind of sorrow, I do not wish to let that go." "I have nothing to offer you," Ilara said. "I am hollow, empty. I have abandoned my gift, my husband, my purpose. I'm just grief with a body attached." "Then we are perfectly matched," Starweaver said, with something that might have been the ghost of humor. "For I am much the same." And so, an unlikely companionship began. Ilara did not return to her village. She could not face going back, could not bear the sympathetic looks and well-meaning words that would only emphasize what she had lost. Instead, she made a small camp in the clearing where she had met Starweaver, using her survival skills to build a simple shelter. Starweaver remained with her, not hovering, not forcing interaction, but simply present. Sometimes they would sit together in silence, sharing space without words. Sometimes Starweaver would tell her stories of unicorn culture, of his lost foal, of the life he had known before grief consumed it. And sometimes Ilara would talk about Lunar, the pregnancy, the dreams she had had, the 17 minutes of holding her daughter before she died. Starweaver listened without offering platitudes or trying to fix her pain. He simply witnessed it, acknowledged it, sat with her in it. "Why did you approach me that first day?" Ilara asked one evening, as they sat watching the sunset filter through the trees. "You could have walked away. You had no obligation to a grieving stranger." "I heard you," Starweaver said simply. "Your grief called out and it resonated with my own. I could not walk away from that. And when I saw you, I saw myself, someone destroyed by loss, isolated by pain, unable to find a way forward. I thought perhaps we could help each other. But we are not helping each other," Ilara pointed out. "We are just two broken beings sitting together in our brokenness." "Is that not a form of help?" Starweaver asked. "To not be alone with unbearable pain? To have someone who understands without needing explanation? To share space with another who knows that grief this profound cannot be fixed, only endured?" Ilara considered this. The unicorn was right. His presence did make the grief more bearable, not because it lessened the pain, but because it made her feel less isolated in it. She was not the only being in the world who had been shattered by loss. She was not uniquely broken, and somehow that mattered. Weeks passed, then months. Ilara's husband came looking for her several times, but she sent him away, telling him she was not ready to return, might never be ready. He eventually stopped coming, though he left supplies at the forest edge where she would find them. Blankets, food, a letter telling her he loved her and would wait as long as she needed. Ilara read the letters but did not respond. She appreciated his love but could not reciprocate it in her current state. She had nothing left to give anyone except Starweaver, and that was only because he asked for nothing. One day, about 4 months after Lunar's death, Ilara was sitting by the small stream that ran through the clearing when she noticed something. A bird with an injured wing struggling to drink from the water. It was clearly in pain, would likely die without help. Her healing instinct stirred. The first time in months, she could ease the bird's suffering. She could set the wing, channel healing energy, give it a chance to survive. But the moment she considered it, she felt a wave of bitter anger. Why should this bird get to heal when her daughter had not? Why should she waste her gift on a random creature when she had been unable to save Lunar? She turned away from the bird, refusing to help. An hour later, she found Starweaver beside the stream, the bird cradled gently in magical light from his horn. The unicorn was healing it with his own magic, setting the wing with careful precision. "Why?" Ilara asked. "Why help it?" "Because it suffers," Starweaver said simply, "and I have the power to ease that suffering." "But your foal died. Doesn't that make you angry? Doesn't it seem unfair that you can save this bird but could not save her?" "Yes," Starweaver admitted. "It seems terribly unfair. But my foal's death does not negate this bird's suffering. One tragedy does not cancel out the value of preventing another." "I cannot do it," Ilara said, her voice breaking. "I cannot go back to healing. Every time I touch someone, I will feel their life force, their vitality, their chance at continued existence. And it will remind me that Lunar had none of those things. It will be torture." "Then do not do it yet," Starweaver said gently, releasing the bird, which flew away on its newly healed wing. "But do not forswear it forever. Grief does not have to destroy the gifts you possess. It can transform them, make them deeper, more meaningful. Your healing could become not just a technical skill, but an act of honoring Lunar. Every life you save could be a memorial to the life you could not save." "That sounds beautiful in theory," Ilara said bitterly, "but in practice it feels like betrayal, like moving on, like accepting what happened." "Healing does not mean moving on," Starweaver said. "It means learning to carry your grief differently. You will always love Lunar. You will always mourn her. But you can choose whether that mourning consumes you entirely or whether it becomes part of a larger story that includes meaning and purpose." "How do you do it?" Ilara demanded. "How do you heal that bird when your own foal was killed? How do you not feel angry and bitter every time you use magic that could not save her?" "I do feel angry," Starweaver admitted, "and bitter, and deeply sad. But I also feel something else, gratitude that I can prevent other creatures from experiencing what I experienced. I could not save my foal, but because of that loss, I understand the preciousness of life in ways I never did before. My grief has made me a better healer, more compassionate, more determined to fight against loss wherever I find it. That does not erase my pain, but it gives it meaning." Ilara was quiet for a long time, processing this. "You are using your loss to motivate your healing. You are transforming your grief into purpose." "Yes," Starweaver confirmed. "It is the only way I have found to survive it. Otherwise, the grief would have destroyed me entirely. I do not know if I can do that," Ilara said honestly. "I do not know if I am strong enough." "You stood before me 4 months ago, broken and screaming, certain you could not survive another day," Starweaver said. "Yet here you are, still breathing, still existing. That is strength, Ilara. Not the strength to be unbroken, but the strength to continue, despite being broken. You have already demonstrated that you possess it. That conversation marked a turning point. Ilara did not immediately return to healing, but she stopped actively rejecting it. When small opportunities presented themselves, a plant that needed tending, a small animal in distress, she allowed herself to help, tentatively, painfully, always with Lunar's absence sharp in her mind. And each time she healed, she found what Starweaver had described. The pain did not lessen, but it gained dimension. She was not just grieving a lost daughter, she was honoring that daughter by preventing other losses where she could. It was not comfort, not peace, but it was a way to exist with the unbearable that made it slightly more bearable. 6 months after Lunar's death, Ilara finally returned to her village. Starweaver accompanied her to the forest edge, but would go no further. "This is your world," he said. "I would be out of place there, but I will wait here if you wish to return." "I will return," Ilara promised. "You are the only one who truly understands. I need you." "And I need you," Starweaver said. "You are the first being in 20 years who has helped me feel less alone with my grief. Do not stay away too long." Ilara walked into the village, uncertain of her reception. She had abandoned her responsibilities, disappeared for months, sent her husband away repeatedly. She would not have blamed them for being angry. Instead, she found Theron waiting at the village edge, as if he had known she would return today. "Ilara," he said, and his voice broke on her name. "I have missed you. So much." "I am not the same," Ilara warned. "I am changed, broken in ways that may never heal." "I know," Theron said. "I can see it, but I love you, broken or whole, and I have been broken too these months. Perhaps we could be broken together." It was the same offer Starweaver had made, phrased differently. The recognition that healing did not mean returning to who they were before, but learning to exist as who they had become after. "I met someone in the forest," Ilara said. "A unicorn named Starweaver. He lost a foal 20 years ago. He understands my grief in ways no one else can." "Then I am grateful to him," Theron said simply, "for keeping you alive when I could not reach you." "I need to continue seeing him," Ilara said. "I cannot abandon that connection. He needs me as much as I need him." "I understand," Theron said. "I will not ask you to give up what helps you survive. I only ask that you also come home, that you allow me to be part of your healing, even if I cannot understand your grief the way he does." Ilara studied her husband's face, seeing his own grief clearly now, the weight he had been carrying alone. She had been so consumed by her own pain that she had not fully acknowledged his. "I'm sorry," she said, "for leaving you alone with this, for not seeing that you were grieving too." "You were drowning," Theron said. "I do not fault someone for not seeing others when they are fighting to breathe." They embraced, and Ilara felt something she had not felt in 6 months, connection to another human being. It was different from her connection with Starweaver, more complicated, laden with shared history and mutual hurt, but it was valuable. She moved back home, but maintained her relationship with Starweaver, visiting him in the forest several times a week. The unicorn became a fixture in her life, a constant presence that helped her navigate the impossible task of existing after losing a child. And slowly, painfully, Ilara began to rebuild. She resumed her healing work, but it was transformed. Where before she had healed almost mechanically, now each act of healing was deliberate, meaningful, weighted with the understanding of how precious life was and how quickly it could be lost. She became known as the most compassionate healer in the region, not because her technical skills had improved, but because her empathy had deepened. She understood suffering now in ways she never had before. She could sit with people in their pain without trying to rush them through it, without offering empty platitudes, because she knew that some pain could not be fixed, only witnessed. 1 year after Lunar's death, Ilara performed a ritual at her daughter's grave. She stood before the small marker with Theron on one side and Starweaver on the other, her husband and her unicorn companion, the two beings who had helped her survive the unsurvivable. "Lunar," Ilara said softly, "you lived for 17 minutes, and you changed my entire existence. I thought losing you would destroy me. For a long time, I wanted it to destroy me. But I have learned something in this year of grief, that surviving tragedy does not dishonor those we have lost, that finding meaning after loss does not mean forgetting, that healing others does not mean I have healed from losing you." She placed flowers on the grave, moonflowers which bloomed only at night, sacred to the moon goddess. "I will carry you with me always," Ilara continued, "not as a weight that drags me down, but as a reminder of what matters. Every life I save, every pain I ease, every person I help, I do it in your honor. You may have lived for only 17 minutes, but your impact will last my entire lifetime. That is the gift you gave me, the understanding that even brief lives matter, that even small amounts of time can be precious, that love is not measured in duration, but in depth." Starweaver lowered his horn and touched it gently to the grave marker. Soft light emanated from the contact, and for a moment the air seemed to shimmer with a presence, not Lunar herself, but perhaps an echo of her, a whisper of the life that had been so brief. "She knows you love her," Starweaver said gently. "Wherever souls go when they leave us, she knows, and I believe she is proud of what you have become in her absence." "Thank you," Ilara whispered to Lunar, to Starweaver, to the universe that had given her both the greatest joy and greatest sorrow she would ever know. Years passed. Ilara and Theron never had another child. The risk felt too great, the potential for loss too devastating. But they built a life that had meaning anyway, filled with the children Ilara helped heal, the families she helped stay together, the lives she touched with her transformed gift. And through it all, Starweaver remained by her side. Not every day, he had his own forest life, his own patterns, but consistently, reliably, a presence that understood her grief in ways no one else could. They were two broken beings who had found each other in their lowest moments and had chosen to survive together. Their companionship did not erase their losses or heal their deepest wounds, but it made those wounds bearable, made existence possible, made meaning accessible even in the aftermath of tragedy. On the 10th anniversary of Lunar's death, Ilara and Starweaver sat together in the clearing where they had first met, watching the moon rise. "Do you still grieve?" Ilara asked. "Every day," Starweaver said. "The grief never leaves. It has been 30 years since I lost my foal, and I still ache for her." "Does it get easier?" "No," Starweaver said honestly, "but you get stronger. You learn to carry it better. You find ways to make the grief meaningful rather than just painful. And you learn that love does not end with death. I still love my foal. You still love Lunar. That love continues, and that continuation is its own form of healing." "I am glad you found me that day," Ilara said. "I do not think I would have survived without you." "And I am glad I approached you," Starweaver replied. "I had been alone with my grief for 20 years, convinced that no one could understand. You showed me I was wrong. That shared sorrow is more bearable than solitary sorrow, that even in the worst tragedies, connection is possible." "We saved each other," Ilara said. "Yes," Starweaver agreed, "by refusing to leave each other's side, by witnessing each other's pain, by choosing to exist together in our brokenness rather than suffering alone." They sat in comfortable silence as the moon reached its zenith, two beings bound by grief, but also by something more, the understanding that survival after loss is not about forgetting or moving on, but about finding ways to carry the unbearable with companions who help make it bearable. Ilara had lost her child. That loss had shattered her, had changed her fundamental understanding of the world, had transformed everything about who she was and how she existed. But she had also found something in that loss, a unicorn who understood, a companion who refused to leave her side, a relationship that proved that even in the darkest griefs, connection was possible. Lunar had lived for 17 minutes, but in those 17 minutes, she had set in motion a chain of events that brought healing to countless others. Not because her death had meaning, but because those who survived her chose to make meaning from their grief. And that, Ilara had learned, was the only way to survive the unsurvivable, not by accepting it, not by moving past it, but by transforming it into something that honored what was lost, while allowing those who remained to continue living. The grief never ended, but neither did the love. And where love persisted, so too did hope, small, fragile, but real. The end. If this story about grief, healing, and the power of companionship in our darkest moments resonated with you, we'd be grateful for your subscription. We're in the final 15 days of reaching 1,000 subscribers. Your support helps us continue creating these emotionally meaningful stories. Please subscribe, share with those who appreciate tales that honor both pain and resilience, and let us know in the comments how this story touched you. Thank you for being part of our community.